Hey guys, today's bold statement is your story isn't over. I don't think a lot of y'all know, but I have been diagnosed with anxiety and depression and PTSD and a lot of other things. And when I was very young, I had very suicidal ideations. And I spent a lot of my time not understanding why I spent my whole life depressed and why it didn't make a lot of sense. And I questioned God. I questioned, why was I born with cerebral palsy? Why did I go through some of the things I went through? And why was this thing in my mind that made me feel like I wanted to die every single day? That I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to shower, I didn't want to live life because there was no point and there was no purpose, and I was a walking shell of a human being at the age of 15. And I actually spent a lot of time begging God to die. I did not want to be alive. And I spent a couple of years in very active drug and alcohol use from the age of 14, 15 to 18. And then I sobered up by the grace of God. And a lot of brokenness in a relationship that brought me back to Christ, but also made me face my struggles. And God bless the person who brought me back. I wish them the best. But it got me to a place where I went to a Bible college. And I did my best to clean myself up and stay away from things that were bad for me. And guess what? I still deal with depression. I still suffer from anxiety. I still have to go to therapy. I still have to take medication. I still have to do all of these things. And I've lived quite a life at 27 years old. And there's been a lot of moments where I felt like my world and my book of life was ending. But the story was never over. And your story is not over. The pen is still in God's hand. One chapter closing or having a messy ending that you're still trying to figure out does not end the entire book. There's this beautiful tattoo that goes around now that I've seen over the years. It's a semicolon. A semicolon is a grammatical mark that marks where the end of a sentence should be, but a continuation happens to bring more detail. And that is absolutely beautiful for me. It's something I look at very often as this is what God does. Your story is not over until God says it's over, even if it's a mess. Even if you've made a mess of your life, it's never over. And there's a scripture that I thought about when I was writing this out. It's Philippians 1:6. He who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion. You have a purpose beyond anything that you can understand. Even if you're sitting here looking at this screen saying, what's the point anymore? I've done too much. I cannot. I'm at rock bottom. The thing of it is he who began a good work in you will carry it to completion. Your story is not over until God sets down the pen, because you're not the one writing it. I just wanted to take a second and say that again. Your story is not over until God finishes writing it. Because if we finished writing our stories, we would be gone. But God doesn't shame us for our mess. He doesn't shame us for our issues. He doesn't shame us for our brokenness. He uses that to create a good work in us. And He is willing and able to carry it to completion because He's not done writing your story. And no matter what you're going through today, no matter the thoughts that are racing inside of your head, no matter the things that you're facing, your anxiety, your depression, your mental illness, that's not God. That's not God. All of the things up here are not what He says that you are. And not the story that He's finished writing. You may have some bad chapters, you may have some bad spots, you may be walking through a very, very deep valley right now. But that doesn't mean it's over. Your story isn't over.